So we're here with Emerge, I think it's episode 4 now, switching locations to the Mayo Clinic Business Accelerator, and we're here with Xavier Frigola. So thanks so much for being here
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Yeah. So we thought we'd talk about the new Southeast Minnesota Capital Fund because that's a big advancement in the community that was officially launched this week.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to just talk a little bit about the basics of what the fund is?
Yes, it's a traditional angel fund. We're not the first one. There are quite a few others in the state. But I think that what it does for these communities, it centralizes the amount of angel activity that we have into a common method, application form, etc. And it also probably allows some of the members that have not had the time or the expertise to do angel investing bring them into doing angel investing, and also highlights Rochester as a place where companies should come and look for funding. In the past, you're an out-of-town company, you don't know what door to knock. Mm-hmm. Having an angel fund also allows us to be the central place and have more companies come and get funding.
Sure. Yeah. So before this, companies are typically just have to spend a lot of energy looking for funding outside of the region, right?
Raising funding in itself is an expensive endeavor, both in time and in money.
Right. Right. So now you have this fund. It's $875,000, right?
Yes, that was on Tuesday. Today is $950.
Okay.
We had a couple more members come on board.
Right, and you're trying to get between 1 to 2 million by the end of the year,
yes,
right?
I think that at this point the 1 million is almost a given that the fund will get to 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to speculate, we'll probably end up landing around 1.2, 1.4.
Okay.
Because we're open until the end of this current fiscal year.
Okay, and you're looking to invest about $50,000 in probably 18 companies now.
It's a factor of the size of the fund. I think that what we want to do is do roughly 15 deals and put 3/4 of the fund into those 15 deals. So you do the math. If it's a 1 million fund, it's about $50,000. If it's a 2 million fund, it's $100,000. And reserve another a quarter of the fund for follow-on investments on companies that we have already invested that are doing well, where we want to preserve our percentage ownership.
So you've done a lot of work to get this fund going over the past 15 months, just talking with a lot of people and doing a lot of the legwork. So what's it feel like to you now that it's kind of come to fruition and this is launched and now is available in the community?
I guess in a way I kind of feel like a little bit like the entrepreneurs themselves when they raise their seed round or any round that they raise. It's the same amount of effort trying to convince people that you'll use their money in a judicious way and what will come out after with the uses of their money. So it's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
But it has several parallels. Throughout this fund, when we were doing in the last 15 months, when talking to people, I've been also talking to entrepreneurs themselves, and we had a lot of jokes. Like, you're in our shoes now.
Yeah.
And it's true. I was in their shoes for about a little bit over a year.
Yeah. So are the majority of the investors the angels in this region, or kind of all over the place?
I'd say that probably 70% are Rochester-based investors. Now we're seeing after the press release, we're starting to see a little bit more regional investors and involvement. But the fund was meant to be regional in its membership, but also in the way we intend to invest the fund. In other words, we don't want that to be a Rochester-centric fund.
Right.
Looking forward, and with the experience we have, we know that a lot of the ideas and companies that come out of this region come from Rochester itself.
Sure.
But we're going to make an effort not to invest only in Rochester companies.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of agriculture and manufacturing businesses, startups, kind of outside of Rochester too, that would be, potentially could be of interest.
I don't know the exact fields, but the idea is we know that this region is very rich in new companies that do healthcare, and that's all the flavors within the healthcare or life sciences realm. Biotech, pharma, medical devices, healthcare IT, and a few others. And we also have a little bit of technology companies, but there aren't a lot of things that there are other things we don't have. AgTech, you mentioned, is something that I haven't seen that many here. So I'm hoping, because some of these other industries have a different payback time and need for money and return on investment. We're hoping to complement the fund with what we don't have in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess why, in your viewpoint, is this an essential part to the communities now? So now we have all these pieces that seem to come together. So what piece does this fill for companies here now?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's, if you look back 5 years ago, what did we have? Right?
Not much.
Right? And if you look like now, what do we have? We
Yeah.
have a couple entrepreneurial spaces.
Yeah.
We have people starting companies. We have a little bit more of a community involvement. Now we have two early funds, the Rochester Economic Development Fund, which probably comes first, and this angel investment fund.
Mm-hmm.
So as you said, we're starting to feel all the
An
pieces.
ecosystem?
Yeah, an ecosystem.
Yeah, so do you want to talk a little bit about when the fund would go into kind of the business life cycle? So this would still be pretty early seed capital, right? So this would come like after bootstrapping, so after people have gone to their friends and families and kind of self-financed, right?
And that may be a good segue to state that I'm just one of I represent Reddy's interest in the fund. Reddy was the first investor, and then we helped raise the fund and all that. Then when all the members came in, we voted a management team, and I became the secretary treasurer of the fund. So I'm one of the individuals involved in the fund. It's not my fund. I represent the people in the fund. And then the other thing you're asking me is, when does the fund come in? When's a good time for a company to ask to pitch for money? We're still working on the actual process. The fund was formally formed not even a month ago.
Yep.
So, but I think that the way we're internally talking, we would like companies that have a little bit more of just preclinical work, or at least a preclinical solid work. If it's a medical device, a prototype.
Sure, but not necessarily sales. Or it probably just depends on the company.
Depends on the industry. For medical devices to have sales, it has to be they have to have FDA approval.
Sure.
If you're a research reagents company, you don't need FDA approval. Perhaps at that point we would like to have at least sales or a list of customers that were willing to buy it if you were building it, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, that's true.
It probably depends on the company itself.
Yeah. I forget what else I was going to ask you. Oh, so the angels then, so you had 26 investors, so these are accredited investors, angel investors, and then a portion of those will be vetting the companies, right? And they have a lot of health tech experience, but again, you're looking at all kind of industries.
Another thing that we're trying to do is, and I think we want to be very mindful of that, is there are other angel funds in the state, and we're doing a concerted effort to reach out to them to share our expertise and share our deal flow. In other words, perhaps a lot of healthcare companies will come to Rochester, and we'll have one part of the vetting process here, versus in Minneapolis there's a Go for Angels, and they also see a lot of medical devices, but their membership is a little bit more expert in how would I say it, marketing of those devices and sales and regulatory pathways, versus here we're probably more experts in what our physicians use it or not.
Sure, yeah.
So having this working relationship and complementing our expertise, I think will be critical for and beneficial to everyone.
Right, yeah, I think that goes back to creating this like whole ecosystem too, even in the state, because we're so close.
So yes, you're right. We want to create the ecosystem, but just not only in Southeast Minnesota. We want to help create the ecosystem throughout the state. And at the end of the day, Minneapolis and Rochester are an hour and a half.
Right.
So that's not far away.
No, that's not far. And again, it's creating this system. So we have expertise here, they have expertise there that's completely different.
Yeah, start reaching out perhaps to Austin. They have the Hormel Institute. They're doing a big effort there to be more entrepreneurial. So if we can be helpful there, we'd like to. Yeah.
So how do you think having the fund here, do you think it accelerates the process of companies, or it just makes getting that capital a little bit easier because you have more of a relationship in the community?
Yeah.
What do you think that does, the fund being here, to help that process?
I think it accelerates it for some companies.
Okay.
So they have to be good companies.
Mm-hmm.
Just for, even if we have more money to put into companies, there'll be companies that will not get funded just because they probably aren't ready for funding.
Sure.
They haven't thought out their product market fit, their business plan and all that. But there are other companies here or in the region that are good companies that they won't have to go get on a plane to get
Right.
all
You're
the
not going to
round filled.
Boston or something.
And that's the real risk when they start going to San Francisco or Boston. When they raise above a threshold,
Right.
the answer is yes, we'll fund you, but you got to move here.
Right.
And it's easy to move a 3-man company, but once you're a 15, 20 people company, then pick up and move to Boston. That's not a trivial conversation anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not the founders among themselves discussing and agreeing.
Right.
There's a lot of people involved.
Yeah, I think that is the dangerous situation about not having an angel fund whenever your investors are in,
Yeah.
say, I don't know, Silicon Valley, and they're like, yeah, we really want you to be here so we can...
And it's also, in a way, getting allegiance from the entrepreneurs to the region, right?
Yeah.
If there's nothing tying you to your community,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps you're more likely to pick up and leave. But if you know that the people in the community was the first one to believe in your product when no one else would, it's that decision to pick up and go to
A lot
Chicago,
harder.
Boston, and San Francisco, it's just a lot harder.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point.
Because those are tomorrow's jobs. I mean,
That's what we're planning on.
You and my job, your job, my job, or
Yeah.
the jobs of the sons or the nephews of the angels themselves.
Right. And yeah, I think it's exactly right. Investing in the community and the future, the kids in elementary school right now.
How
for
many
this
people
job.
doesn't complain about, well, we grew up here and it's college time and my kids go somewhere else and
they go
never come back because they have, if they don't want to do healthcare, why would they
Right.
come back to Rochester?
Right.
If we diversify this economy, then they might
Yeah.
come back to Rochester.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting point that I hadn't thought about yet. But it's true, we're building all this infrastructure here. Now we have a legitimate source to help fund qualified companies.
Yeah.
So what, for Ready and the angels that have invested in this fund, what is your ideal company? Like, what are you looking for as far as qualifications?
You mean when is a good when?
Yeah, so like high growth potential,
There's all these things that you put on paper. Yes, we want
Sure.
possibility of high returns and high growth company and 3 to 5 year exit investment, all these things. But then you have to look at who's running the company and what have they done and how's the industry behaving.
Mm-hmm.
Are they just getting to milestones the way you think they are? And if they're not, how can we help them? Because there's two sides here. One is do invest in this company or not. But once you have invested in them, you want to help them help you.
Right.
Right? We are now partners, right?
Right, you have skin in the game now.
In the beginning, it might be a little contentious conversation. Why would I invest in you, and why do you want me as an investor? But once we have invested in each other, then it's a mutual relationship. I want you to be successful, and if you need help, why wouldn't I help you?
Because it is a bit of a high-risk investment, right?
Oh, it
Because they're
is.
early stage. You expect to lose a little bit.
And that's the hard conversation with some of the people that
Yeah.
we've approached to be part of the angel fund. Is okay, if I need my money, how do I get my money? Like,
Right.
it's not a checking account.
Right.
You
don't get it.
It's fairly liquid. You
Right.
get the money we invested in 3 to 5 years, and you'll get it when you get it.
Mm-hmm.
There's things at that point it's out of your control.
Right. Right. And I guess maybe to wrap up, we should maybe talk about the angel tax credit. So, I guess we had this tax, or had funding for this tax credit in Minnesota, so you could get a 25% credit or up to like $125,000. And I think there's a little bit left in it for 2017, but 2018 we have no money. Do you think that impacts us at all, or no?
When we were putting together the concept of an angel fund, the angel tax credit was one of the 2 or 3 main bullet points there, like return on investment, help the community, and oh, by the way, not all your money is at risk because we have this angel tax credit. So
Right.
for people that was more risk averse, that was a deal breaker. When all this legislation unraveled, it was the hardest part was not knowing what was going to happen. So for 3 months, it stalled us completely. We didn't know we didn't know what to tell our membership. It would look one day that was going to pass, then not pass, and then it ended up not passing, and we had to all re-vote that they were doing that, and we lost a couple investors at that point.
Sure.
When I heard it's not passing, I just thought this probably will kill the deal. But
it didn't.
luckily it didn't. But it's in the big context of the state funding. What is it, $10-15 million? I just don't understand. When you look at how much good it has done, I just don't understand that this is where they chose to fight over.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're mentioning is these companies get local money; they stay in the state.
Right.
So it's much cheaper to get these companies to be allegiant to Minnesota than when they threaten to leave their
Wisconsin
headquarters or do a
Yeah.
reverse merger, then just give them a bunch of tax incentives in the hundreds of millions or even billions.
Yeah.
So I think it's created a fair amount of jobs. Even neighboring states are now envious of the entrepreneurial community in Minnesota. And for the first time, about a month ago, someone from Madison was telling me that they were envious about Minnesota, right?
That's good.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
That's where, like you were saying, 5 years ago.
I would have
this
never thought
would have
we would
been.
see that.
But now we're moving forward, you know.
But I have hopes that there's a lot of people in the entrepreneurial community pushing for the angel tax credit to be reinstated for 2018 or 2019, and I think we may get it.
Yeah.
The law is still in place. It's just
Right. There's no funding.
You have to reappropriate funds for it.
Right.
So,
Right. So there's definitely hope.
And up until now, it was only a Minneapolis St. Paul-based effort. Now they'll probably have another partner with us because we do want to help push for the angel tax credit to come back.
Yeah. No, I think that would be good. But like you said, it's, you know, didn't break the whole thing. And I think people still, you know, are investing to see, in part, you know, return on investment. But again, like helping to spur growth in this region, which is the, you know, the hope for all of this, right?
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Well, that was all that I had. So do you have any final thing to add about the fund and its importance and, you know, what this means for the region?
Yeah. I keep on thinking that 5 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago, before we embarked in this entrepreneurial exploration, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, and we had no idea what would come out of it. Right now, 4 years have passed, and we have a couple spaces. We're investing in companies. I think the last time I counted, there were 40 or 50 Rochester-based startups. So, and that's just in 4 years.
Yeah.
So where will we be 4 years from now? There'll be a couple or 3 Discovery Square buildings, and all with all the energy that will bring to Rochester. I think that I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic for the future.
It's exciting.
It is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be here today and talking about the fund as part of Ready. So I appreciate your time.
My pleasure.